This is the sperm whale. Slow, lumpy, built like a floating armoured bunker. It cannot outswim an orca, it cannot outmaneuver a great white. By every conventional measure of ocean combat, it should be easy prey. And yet, no predator alive today dares touch it. Orcas, the undisputed apex predators of the modern ocean. Animals that coordinate like military units to drag down 200-ton blue whales, the largest creatures to ever exist on this planet. Orcas will chase prey for hours. They rip fins, block airways, drown their targets into submission. But when they see an adult sperm whale, they stop, they watch, and in most cases, they leave. For a long time, scientists assumed this was simply about size. A 50-ton animal is too risky to attack. Logical, right? But that logic collapses immediately. Orcas regularly kill 210-ton blue whales. A 50-ton sperm whale should be a manageable target. So why aren't they touching it? The answer is not about what the sperm whale is today. It is about what it survived 30 million years ago. Deep inside the biology of every living sperm whale is the record of the most violent arms race in ocean history. A 30-million-year war against monsters so enormous and so deadly that nothing alive today comes close. The armoured skull, the 14-inch blubber, the 230-decibel sonar, the military defensive formations, none of it was built to repel orcas. It was built to survive titans. Today, we go back to the beginning of that war. We will meet the monsters that forced sperm whales to become what they are. And we will understand why, when the war ended and the giants went extinct, the sperm whale alone was left standing. To understand the war, you have to understand the world it was fought in. Travel back 23 million years. The Miocene epoch. Vast, warm, shallow inland seas stretch across what is now South America, North Africa, and Southern Europe. These waters are packed with life. Ancient baleen whales fill the seas in staggering numbers. Every size, every depth. A near endless supply of large prey. And wherever there is an abundance of large prey, evolution builds something to eat it. The Miocene Ocean did not produce one apex predator. It produced two simultaneously. Both of them the most destructive hunting machines that had ever lived. One was a shark. The other was a whale. And the ancestors of the modern sperm whale were trapped directly between them. Let us meet the first titan. In 2008, paleontologists working in the Pisco Desert of Peru uncovered a skull unlike anything ever seen before. Nearly 10 feet long. Belonging to an ancient sperm whale relative. The teeth embedded in that jaw were so massive, so clearly designed for one purpose, that scientists named the animal after the author of Moby Dick. Livyatan melville. Picture a sperm whale, but redesigned entirely as a weapon. Fossil data estimates Livyatan at 44 to 57 feet in length, comparable in size to a modern sperm whale. But where the modern sperm whale is a deep-diving squid specialist, Livyatan was a macro-predator built from the ground up to destroy other large whales in shallow water. Start with the skull. Short, extremely wide, with bone density reinforced at precisely the contact points that absorb the highest stress during a ramming attack. This was not a forehead. It was a battering ram wrapped in bone. Now look at the teeth. Each functional tooth in Livyatan's jaw reached up to 14 inches in length, roughly 36 centimeters. A base diameter of about 5 inches. Twice the size of a T-Rex tooth. Many times thicker. And here is what separates Livyatan entirely from its modern descendants. Modern sperm whales have reduced teeth in the upper jaw that barely erupt. Livyatan had a complete, fully functional double jaw system. Upper and lower. Interlocking, a biological bear trap scaled to the size of a school bus. When those jaws closed around the ribcage of an ancient baleen whale, the result was not just a bite. It was a shearing, crushing, bone-splitting event that no large animal could survive. but the teeth were only half the weapon system. The front of Leviathan's skull housed a massive spermaceti organ, a cavity filled with specialized waxy oil. In modern sperm whales, this organ handles sound production and buoyancy. In Leviathan, paleontologists believe it also served as a biological shock absorber. When Leviathan delivered a full-force ram at speed, this waxy layer redistributed impact pressure evenly across the skull, protecting the brain from the rebound force of the collision. The head of Leviathan was simultaneously a weapon and a shield, a battering ram that could not be damaged by its own attack. This creature did not need camouflage. It did not need speed. It needed mass, bone, and the most devastating bite force any whale had ever developed. It ruled the warm, shallow seas of the Miocene from the very top, challenged only by one other living thing. That other thing was Otodus megalodon, a shark so large that, for years, scientists struggled to accept the full implications of the fossil evidence. Megalodon reached 49 to nearly 65 feet in length, 50 to 100 tons in weight, with females substantially larger. Its jaws, fully open, formed an arch large enough to swallow a great white shark whole. The bite force of Megalodon has been calculated at 108,000 to 182,000 newtons. A great white shark, already the most powerful bite of any living ocean predator, bites at approximately 18,000 newtons. Megalodon's bite was 10 times greater. You can imagine it as a mobile hydraulic press. Fast, stealthy, hunting in 3 dimensions. Megalodon and Leviathan were not the same kind of predator. Megalodon was a cartilaginous fish, lighter, more buoyant. Built for maneuvering at depth. The supreme ambush predator. Attacking from below, from darkness, from angles where visibility failed. Using specialized organs called the ampullae of Lorenzini to sense the bioelectric field of large animals hundreds of meters away. Before its prey ever saw it, Megalodon already knew exactly where to strike. Leviathan was a warm-blooded mammal. More intelligent, more adaptable. Capable of adjusting its hunting strategy in real time, and it possessed sonar that cut through murky water and detected prey at great distances, even in complete darkness. These two titans were both hunting the same food source, the ancient baleen whales of the Miocene, and the ancestral toothed whales, the creatures that would eventually become the modern sperm whale, were living directly between them. One choice: adapt or disappear. Predation pressure is the most powerful sculptor of body design in the history of life. Nothing reshapes an organism faster or more completely than the sustained pressure of being hunted by something that can kill you. For the ancestors of the sperm whale, that pressure came from 2 directions simultaneously for millions of years. From Megalodon, a shark that could breach from depth at devastating speed, targeting fins and tails to disable mobility before the killing bite. From Leviathan, an intelligent, sonar-equipped macro-predator hunting the shallow coastal breeding waters where whale populations gathered. Standard escape strategies were useless. Swimming away from Megalodon in open water was suicide. Against Leviathan's sonar, concealment in shallow water was nearly impossible. So evolution began building something different. The first target was the blubber. In most whale species, blubber serves primarily as thermal insulation and energy storage. But in the ancestors of the sperm whale, blubber thickness began increasing far beyond any thermoregulation need. The outer skin became denser, tougher, more structurally resistant. Because Megalodon's teeth needed to penetrate that blubber to reach vital tissue. Every additional centimeter of thickness forced Megalodon to bite harder, hold longer, and expose itself to counterattack for more time. An evolutionary tax imposed on the predator by the prey. Make the attack expensive enough, and eventually the predator goes elsewhere. The second transformation was the skull. As ramming attacks from Leviathan became the primary danger in shallow water, the sperm whale lineage developed something extraordinary. A head that could absorb catastrophic impact without killing the animal inside it. The spermaceti organ, that enormous oil-filled cavity, was refined over millions of years into the most sophisticated biological shock absorption structure in vertebrate history. When the oil cools, it solidifies, increasing the density of the skull region dramatically. When it warms, it becomes fluid again. This organ was shaped by selection into something that could protect the brain from direct frontal collision. It turned the front third of the sperm whale's body into a biological crumple zone. You want proof of how effective this became? In 1820, an agitated male sperm whale used this exact system to sink the American whaling ship Essex, a 90-foot vessel built from solid oak, with just 2 direct head-on rams. Now replace the Essex with an orca. Flesh, blood and bone cannot absorb an impact that shatters reinforced hardwood. But the sperm whale lineage was not only building armor, it was building detection systems. Megalodon's primary advantage was invisibility. It approached from depth and darkness, from angles where surface reading was useless. To counter this, the ancestral sperm whale lineage developed what is now the most powerful sonar system of any animal ever studied. Modern sperm whale sonar clicks exceed 230 decibels. A gunshot registers at 140 decibels. A rocket engine at close range reaches around 200. The sperm whale produces the loudest biological sound ever recorded on Earth. In the Miocene, this was not simply navigation. It was an active countermeasure against an ambush predator that depended entirely on the element of surprise. You cannot ambush something that hears you coming from a kilometre away. And then there was the third adaptation, the most counterintuitive of all. The decision to give up speed entirely. Sperm whales are slow, a cruising speed of about 4 miles per hour. Blue whales sprint at 30. Orcas sustain over 30 in pursuit. This sounds catastrophic. But it was a calculated trade. Speed requires a lightweight, streamlined body. Armor, dense bone, thick blubber, reinforced skull is heavy. Extremely heavy. The sperm whale lineage chose structural invulnerability over agility. In an ocean where the primary threats were a shark that could breach at 20 knots and a toothed whale that could ram at devastating force, no amount of speed provided lasting protection. The only sustainable defense was to become something that attacks could not damage fatally. The sperm whale lineage became a fortress. And fortresses do not need to run. No physical adaptation tells the complete story. Because the most devastating threat in the Miocene was not aimed at armoured adults, it was aimed at calves. Adult sperm whale ancestors, once fully armoured, were genuinely dangerous targets for both Megalodon and Leviathan. The energy cost of attacking one that would fight back was simply too high. But calves? A newborn was already large by any modern standard, but it lacked the blubber thickness, skull density, and sonar sophistication of an adult. For Megalodon lurking beneath the warm, shallow breeding grounds, a calf was a high-value, low-risk opportunity. For Leviathan, which could scan through coral and seagrass with its sonar, calving grounds were hunting grounds. The evolutionary response was one of the most sophisticated social systems in the animal kingdom. Sperm whales developed tight, permanent matriarchal pods. Family units led by experienced females who accumulated knowledge of migration routes, feeding areas, and threat patterns. These were not casual associations, they were survivalist coalitions. Individual isolation in the Miocene equaled death. The defensive formation we see in modern sperm whales today, the rosette, adults in a tight circle, heads inward, tails facing out, is almost certainly a behavioral fossil. Refined under millions of years of pressure from predators far worse than any orca. Each tail in that formation is a weapon. Each strike carries enough concussive force to stun or kill a large predator outright. The social bonds themselves became a survival tool. Females that stayed together, communicated precisely, and responded instantly to distress calls survived. Their calves survived. Their calves' survived. Over millions of years, social complexity in the sperm whale lineage was being selected for as aggressively as any physical trait. The communication system we study today, so complex and so distinct between regional populations that some researchers describe it as culture rather than instinct, has its roots here. It was not culture for its own sake. It was culture built by an ocean that killed you the moment you were alone. By the middle of the Miocene, an extraordinary equilibrium had formed. The apex predators could not easily kill armored adults. The social formations made casual attacks on calves dangerously costly. This was not peace, it was a cold war. Megalodon dominated in deep ambush zones and murky open water. Leviathan occupied the shallower coastal seas. Both animals understood, in different ways, that a direct confrontation meant near certain fatal injury for both sides. Mutually assured destruction, played out beneath the ocean's surface. But survivable pressure, sustained over millions of years, is the raw material of evolution. Every generation that made it through was slightly better armored, slightly better organized, slightly better equipped to hear what was coming. Then the environment changed in a way that nothing could survive unchanged. The Earth began to cool. The vast warm shallow seas of the Miocene shrank and cooled. The ancient baleen whales that formed the primary prey base for both Megalodon and Leviathan failed to adapt. Their populations collapsed across the warm seas of Peru, North Africa, and the Mediterranean. The surviving whale species grew enormous and migrated toward the polar regions following the bloom of cold water krill that the cooling ocean was now producing in vast quantities. Megalodon and Leviathan could not follow. Megalodon's metabolism was directly tied to water temperature. As ocean temperatures dropped, its ability to sustain the energy output needed for active hunting declined. Cold water didn't just make Megalodon uncomfortable, it made it operationally useless. Leviathan, despite being warm-blooded, faced the same problem through different mechanics. Maintaining body heat in polar water requires an enormous caloric surplus. A surplus the sparse polar prey base of the Pliocene simply could not provide. Both superpredators found themselves imprisoned in the warm seas that were emptying of food. The laws of thermodynamics became an inescapable death sentence. An organism can only survive when calories taken in exceed calories burned. When prey density dropped below the threshold needed to make a hunt worthwhile, the hunt itself became fatal to attempt. The most powerful predators that had ever lived were not killed by a rival. They were killed by a changing spreadsheet of calories. Leviathan melvilli disappears from the fossil record approximately 8 to 9 million years ago. Megalodon's last confirmed fossils date to around 3.6 million years ago. The war was over, but the army built to fight it was still standing. When Megalodon and Leviathan disappeared, the consequence was immediate. Without superpredators capable of hunting large whales, baleen whale populations exploded in size. This is what evolutionary biologists call size release. Remove the dominant predator and the ceiling on prey body size disappears. Before Megalodon and Leviathan, growing too large meant becoming an obvious target. After their extinction, no such penalty. The blue whale, 200 tons, the largest animal in the history of life on Earth, is the direct biological consequence of their extinction. The ceiling was removed. And the blue whale simply kept growing until it hit the physical limits of what a living organism can structurally sustain. And the sperm whale descended. With the great macro-predators gone, the most accessible food source for a deep-diving toothed whale was one no other large predator could reach. Giant squid. Colossal squid. 3,000 to 6,500 feet down. Total darkness. Crushing pressure. The sonar built to detect Megalodon now maps squid in darkness. The structural toughness built to absorb Leviathan's rams now resists the crushing pressure of the abyss. The social formations evolved to protect calves from superpredators now create the most sophisticated communication networks in the non-human animal kingdom. And the blubber. That 14-inch layer of dense, rubber-tough tissue that orca teeth cannot penetrate. It was not built for orcas. It was built for a shark with 182,000 newtons of bite force. The fact that it makes the sperm whale impervious to modern predators is a side effect. The armor was calibrated against something 10 times more powerful than anything alive today. This is evolutionary over-engineering. The sperm whale is adapted to an environment that no longer exists, one so extreme that the tools it produced exceed the demands of any living predator on Earth. When orcas look at a sperm whale, they are not looking at a large animal. They are looking at a living relic. A creature whose entire biology is a museum of a war that ended 3 million years ago. Every physical feature, every behavior, every social reflex. The echo of a pressure that has not existed since before our own species walked the earth. The sperm whale does not know this. It simply knows that when something approaches with aggression, you do not run. You turn around. You face it. You deploy what 30 million years of the most violent ocean in history has built into you. And you wait, because whatever is approaching right now cannot possibly be worse than what came before. The story of the sperm whale is proof of what extreme, sustained pressure can build. Megalodon and Leviathan were the peak of what evolution can produce when competition is total. The most powerful killing machines this planet has ever seen. Gone, not destroyed by a superior predator, but eliminated by a few degrees of ocean temperature. Nature does not reward pure power, it rewards adaptability. And sometimes the most durable adaptations are the ones built under pressure so extreme they outlast the very thing that created them. The sperm whale is proof of that principle, swimming in the ocean right now. Slow, lumpy, apparently unremarkable. Carrying 30 million years of war inside its flesh and bone. And utterly, completely, untouchable. If the deep history of the ocean's greatest survivors fascinated you today, drop a comment below. Which part of this story hit you hardest? Was it Leviathan's 14-inch teeth, larger than any dinosaurs? Was it the realization that sperm whale armor was calibrated against something 10 times more powerful than any living predator? Or do you know of another creature from this ancient ocean that belongs in this story? We want to hear it. If you want to keep exploring the arms races, the extinct titans, and the biological engineering hidden inside the animals alive today, subscribe and turn on notifications now. There is so much more ocean history to uncover. We will see you in the next dive.